Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. This is Rosie Rose Reads and I am Rosie. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today we have a super fun video that I have seen a couple creators here on Booktube do, and that is the Midway book freakout tag, or just like a Midway book tag. So I have a list of questions that I have found from other content creators that I'll tag down below, and we are going to go through them and talk about kind of favorites of the year so far. So somehow we are already halfway through the year. Basically, we're like halfway through June right now, so like really close to halfway through the year. I don't know how that happened, but here we are. So far I have read 85 books this year. My goal for the year was to read 125 books. So I am beyond halfway. I am ahead of schedule, which is always exciting. And yeah, I'm excited to like talk about some of the books that I've read more so than in my past videos, and to answer some of these questions. So thank you again for clicking on this video today. If you haven't already, like and subscribe so you don't miss my future videos, and let's jump into the Midway book freakout tag. The first prompt is best book you've read so far this year. This is so hard, y'all, because I have like read so many books that I've been a big fan of, and I really tried to like limit these to just one book so that this video wasn't insanely long. So the best book that I've read so far this year, I went with Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. I have talked about this book a bunch. I think everybody already knows I love this book so much. I'm sure I will talk about it more. This book just like was everything to me. I loved the characters. I loved Elliot. I loved like their love of words and reading and the setting, and it was cozy, but like I feel like it would also be a good summer read because I don't know, the vibes, just everything is immaculate about this book, and I loved it so much. I like loved the audiobook version of it. Also, I just really loved it, and I keep thinking about it, and it was definitely one of, if not my favorite that I've read so far this year. But for this, it like topped the list when I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about. So Love and Other Words right now is winning out as my favorite book of the year, and we will see if anything can top that. The next question is the best sequel you've read so far this year. I've read some standalone fantasy. I've read fantasy that was like rereads for me. Recently, so like this question was a little bit hard for me when I was thinking about it, but recently I read Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. And I read the first book and I was like, okay, the vibes were fun. Like it was a new storyline, but with some like kind of fairy tale aspects. And I really like Jax as a character. So I thought, okay, it was fun. I'll pick up the next book. And I really, really enjoyed the second book, which was The Ballad of Never After. Like, I enjoyed it so much more than the first book. I loved the character growth. I loved the plot growth. I loved Jax and Evangeline and their relationship and the tension and the cliffhanger. So I'm gonna go with The Ballad of Never After as my favorite sequel that I have read so far this year, because it just like blew me away, especially in comparison to the first book. Question 3 is a new release that you haven't read yet, but you want to. I do have 2 for this one. I'm sure there are many more. I always love seeing the new releases that come out, and I don't do book of the month or any sort of subscription box like that, so I don't have them necessarily on hand, but I would like to read Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I've just heard wonderful things about it in so many different spaces that I'm in, and like creators, readers that I know who enjoy a variety of genres and just like speak so highly of that book. So I'm really interested in reading that, which is a new release. And the other new release that I really want to read, which I am trying to save off on reading until my little beachy vacation, because I think it would be fun for that, but I might pick it up before then, and that is Reckless by Elsie Silver, which is the 4th book in the Chestnut Springs series, and I just enjoy that series so much, and I've heard really fun things about that book as well. So I'm hoping to pick up both of those books soon and give them a read, because I've heard they are wonderful new release books. Question 4 is, what is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year? And there's a couple that are coming up that I'm excited about. I'm excited about the new Percy Jackson book by Rick Riordan, because I love those characters in Percy Jackson, and like they'll always hold a special place in my heart. So I'm excited to go back and revisit that world and see what Rick decides to do with it. But the one that I am like holding my breath for, cannot wait until November of 2023, is Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros, and that is the sequel to Fourth Wing, which released this year and was so fun. Yeah, so I can't wait to read Iron Flame, and I'm so excited that she is putting it out so quickly after Fourth Wing, because Fourth Wing just came out, I believe, at the beginning of May, and Iron Flame is already set to come out in November. So I am so excited. I think I saw on Instagram that the cover is going to be released soon, and I just can't wait. It's going to be incredible. I just know it. I'm so excited. They are really taking us from high to low quickly, with most excited book to the next question being a book that was your biggest disappointment of the year. I've had a couple, and by disappointment, like it was books that I was really excited for and I thought I was gonna love, and then they just fell kind of flat for me. One that I recently read was Once More with Feeling by Alyssa Sussman, and I really enjoyed her first book. I think I gave her first book 4 stars, maybe I did give it 5 stars. I can't remember, but I enjoyed her first book and I was looking forward to her second book, and I actually got an ARC of it, and I was like so excited that I applied for an ARC. That's how much I was looking forward to it. And I love second chance romance. You all know that I'm a second chance romance girly, and this was supposed to be a second chance romance, and it just like fell flat for me. There was actually 3 storylines going on, and I just like couldn't get into the characters. I thought that they were actually like genuinely kind of mean to each other, and I think a lot of people will like the book for various reasons. However, it just did not hit the mark for me, so that was disappointing. But so it goes sometimes with books. That's what happens, and I just hope that other people enjoy it, because I'm sure it will hit the mark for some other people. So from biggest disappointment, we are going to go to biggest surprise. And the biggest surprise book for me this year was Once There Were Wolves by Charlotte McConney. And I was so surprised by this book. I really didn't know much about it. I went into it kind of blind, and I've talked about this before, but I am like not typically one who's into thrillers or like mystery or kind of darker things. And I went into this one kind of blind, and I was just absolutely enthralled with it. I read it in one sitting. The writing was so beautiful. It just completely captured me, and I was so surprised by how much I ended up enjoying it. It does have some pretty dark content, so I would say check the trigger warnings if you want to read this, because some of that was surprising and not in a good way. But the writing was just so beautiful, and it captured me, and I was so enthralled. So this was a big surprise for me that I like wasn't expecting, went into blind, and then really enjoyed it. And yeah, I want to give it a reread. Maybe I'll reread it. I should reread it. Yeah. Okay. Favorite new author is next. And for this, I have to go with Elsie Silver. She was a new to me author. I started her Chestnut Springs book series this year, and I have just so enjoyed them. All 3 that are out currently, now 4 with Reckless, and they've just been fun. Elsie Silver writes like really badass, really strong female characters, and I love that. Even though I can't relate to all of their situations, I just like they're just fun to read about and to follow along with. And the spice is good. I love the small town. I love the kind of like Western feeling. I also read one of her earlier books, I think her debut novel, from the other series that she has, and like I enjoyed that one. So yeah, she was a new to me author this year, and I am sold on her books. They were so fun. I also love her TikTok account, and like her own promotion of her books is just so fun. So yeah, she is so far my favorite new to me author. Although there have been quite a few that have been new to me authors, and I have definitely wanted to pick up more of their work after reading one book. So that's always exciting. I love finding new authors. Next, newest fictional crush. Okay, one thing about me is I'm gonna like fall in love with every fictional man that I've ever read about, and some fictional women too. So my husband knows this about me. But favorites, Elliot Petropoulos from Love and Other Words. Cade Eaton from Heartless by Elsie Silver. One that I absolutely loved was The Duke of Gracewood from A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall. I just loved him. He was like so emotional, and like he just loved Viola for everything that she was, and I loved him also. There's so many. I like don't even know. I'll go with those 3. That 3 feels good for now. Newest favorite characters. For me, my favorite characters that I've read so far is all of the characters in A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. That book, she just made me fall in love with those characters immediately. Like Jack, Adara, Torn, Sidra. I just loved each journey that they were on, and I loved how she interwove their journeys. Like each of them is on such a personal journey, but they're also on relationship building journeys, and they're trying to figure out through personal growth how that's going to grow their relationship or impact their community. And yeah, the character depth in those books just like blew me away. So I really love all of the characters that she wrote in that book, and I need to pick up book 2 in the series. I'm really excited to pick up book 2 in the series. I'm a little hesitant because I loved book 1 so much. I loved A River Enchanted, that I'm like worried book 2 is not going to live up to my love of book 1, but I hope it will because I love those characters. So hopefully it will. The other new favorite character has to be Violet from Fourth Wing. I love Violet's character growth throughout this book. I love that she kind of embraces herself. She like believes in herself deeply, and she doesn't let anybody sway that, and she kind of comes to understand that her own confidence, her own belief in herself is enough when she didn't think it was. So yeah, I really enjoyed watching her character growth just within this one single book, and I'm excited to see where her character goes throughout the rest of the series, because I'm sure Rebecca Yarros has much more in store for us in terms of Violet, our main gal. A book that made you cry is our next question. I think I did tear up when I was reading A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall. It just like really got me. But one that I did cry during that I was not expecting was The Tea Dragon Society by Kay O'Neill. And this is a graphic novel. I think it's like middle grade aged book. So I went into it because The art was just so beautiful. Kay O'Neill's art was stunning and is in all of their work that they have put out. And I was not expecting the representation, the heartfelt emotions and storylines that were in that book, and it like really caught me off guard in the most wonderful way, and I definitely cried while I was reading it, because it was not something I was expecting to find and to see in a children's book, and I love that it was there. And yeah, it made me really emotional unexpectedly, but I love that. So thank you, Kay O'Neill. I love the Tea Dragons, and I love those characters also. A book that made me happy. So many books have made me happy. I've enjoyed so many reading experiences that I've had so far this year, but one that made me really, really happy was Curated by Nellie Wilson. And this book is so fun because the premise is that our main character is a curator at a historic house in a fictional Colorado town. And when the school that she is employed by says that the museum funding is in danger unless they combine forces with the science museum, they have to kind of team up and rethink their interpretation and come up with a new combined museum. Our main character also has anxiety, and she kind of like really embraces that throughout. And yeah, this book just made me so happy because I'm a museum professional. I used to work at a historic house museum. I'm also from Colorado, and I also have anxiety, and just so many of these things felt like this book was written for me. I actually reached out and DM'd the author on Instagram, which I don't typically do, just to say like I loved this book so much and these like various kind of characteristics throughout the book, and it just made me so happy to read a book about a romance book about a historic house curator and someone living in Colorado, and it was just so fun. So that book made me really happy. The next question is the most beautiful book you have acquired this year. So I took this question to mean like physical copy beautiful. How can I not go with Fourth Wing? Y'all, the sprayed edges, the gold cover, just like the art inside, the map, it's just stunning. I talked about this, I think, in my May monthly wrap up, but before it got really big, I had seen a couple people talking about it, and I was with a friend in Richmond at a bookstore, and I saw it, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna pick it up. I'm just gonna buy it. And I am so glad I did, because I know so many people wanted the sprayed edge first edition and they couldn't get it once they found it. So this has to be number one. It is so stunning, and I am so happy I got it. I really hope Red Tower Books does sprayed edges for Iron Flame, because like, hello, it would just be beautiful on the shelf. It's so hard because I don't know how to display it. I want you to see the sprayed edges, but also like this spine is really beautiful as well. There's kind of a glare on it. Yeah, so it has to be the most beautiful. Runner up is a book that I'm currently reading, and that is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. To be honest, I'm having a really hard time getting through this book, but it is a really pretty book. I really enjoy the kind of matte cover and the mushrooms and the flowers and the colors. The typeset is really fun. It's just really pretty inside as well. There's even a note on the typeset in the back. So this one is really cute, really pretty, and I bought it, and hopefully the story picks up and I get into it a little bit more, because that would make it even better. Question 13 is, what book do you need to read by the end of the year? One book that I need to read by the end of the year is Babel by R.F. Kuang. it just intimidates me. I like want to read it. I've heard amazing things about it. Like I said, so many people think R.F. Kuang is just like the greatest author of our time. And I can't believe I haven't read any of her books. I want to so bad. Every time I think I want to pick up Babel, I just get intimidated because I feel like it's one of those books that I need to tab and I need to sit down and I need to kind of have the brain space to read. And I haven't quite yet. I do have both the physical copy and I have the audio copy saved on Scribd, so I know there's kind of a multimedia dimension should I need it to get into the book. So yeah, I am committing myself that I am going to read it by the end of the year, and I really want to, so I will do it. Another book that I hope to read by the end of the year is Carissa Broadbent's The Serpent and the Wings of the Night duology series. I think it's kind of like 2 duologies so far, is my understanding. A lot of the content creators that I love are reading it, have read it, have really enjoyed it, and speak really highly of it. I imagine I will as well from what I know about the series, and I think it's kind of like how I've heard it described as kind of like vampires, Hunger Games type intrigue. Like she enters into this kind of competition where she has to do various tasks. So I imagine I'll enjoy it. Yeah, just the length kind of intimidates me, and a lot of times I want to start picking it up and something comes in through my Libby holds that I read instead, because I think it'll be like less of a commitment to read a library book that comes in that's a standalone rather than dive into a series on KU. But I know it is there. I want to read it. I will read it by the end of the year. So yes. Okay, and then question 14 is like a little shout out for content creators that I've been loving. So first I will give a shout out to Alexandra Roslin, who is one of the content creators that did this booktube video and made me excited to do it. Another one that I saw was Sarah Caroli, and I've really been enjoying like Sarah Caroli, Haley Pham, Destiny Sidwell. They're kind of like a little trio of book talk girlies who like just are living their best life, and their friendship is so fun, and I love watching their vlogs and their videos. On YouTube, I also love Rachel over at Ravenhair Reader. She reads a bunch of fantasy romance books, and I am always checking out her channel for new recommendations. And then I have to give a shout out to 2 of my mutuals whose videos I just enjoy watching so much, and that is Amy at Booktube with Amy and Rachel at Moonlight Library. And I just like always tune into their content because they're so nice and kind, and I love watching their videos. So those are some creators here on Booktube that I have been enjoying. And if you are on Bookstagram, you can always check me out there. My username there is at Rosie Rose Reads, same as here. So I love chatting with people over there as well. Yeah, so that brings us kind of to the end of this Midway book freakout tag. How are we already here? I cannot believe we are already halfway through June and approaching halfway, like exactly halfway through the year. That is crazy to me. 2023 feels like it has flown by. Yeah, so what has been your favorite read of the year? I would love if you dropped it down in the comments, and maybe I can find some new recommendations from those books as well. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. I have some content coming, a ARC read along. I'm going on a beach trip, so I've picked up some books, like bookish books beaches. I picked up some beach-ish books to read on my trip and hopefully do a vlog, and then of course my June wrap-up video. So I am excited for what is to come on the channel. And until I see you again, I hope you have a 5-star read. Bye.